the studio, and I am your host, Culture the Kid. Today we're going to be talking about collectibles. We're not really going to focus on film or anything. We'll do that in a different episode. Today I kind of just want to focus collectible heavy because there's a lot to review. Well, there's just a lot of cool things coming out this month, and I really want to touch base on all of them because 2016, man, what a year for collectibles, and I'm pretty excited about it. You should be too. Starting off with 2016, I'm focusing on NECA because they're heavy hitting it. And I mean, Terminator, come on. So first things first, T2 Ultimate Sarah Connor has finally hit shelves. You can find her at your local Toys R Us. You can find her at your local comic shop. You can pretty much find her anywhere. You can go online. Now, where she's going to be on shelves depends on your area. It depends on your Toys R Us. It depends on your comic shop, because some areas do have delays. Now, my Toys R Us in St. Petersburg, Florida, it's pretty consistent. The collectible area has grown exponentially over the last 3 years. However, they still get delay on NECA figures. Now, I'm not sure if that's because of the new NECA representative thing. And by that I mean, whenever Toys R Us gets the figures, they have to wait on a NECA representative to show up and put them out. Now, I don't know if they get the figures beforehand, like in shipment, and then have to hold them, or if when the NECA representative shows up, they just hand them out. And also, how cool would it be to be a NECA representative and be able to go in and stock shelves and, put out your coolest favorite figures? I'm just saying. Also, as of this week, NECA's Ultimate T2 T1000 figure is supposed to be shipping out. Now, that's not saying that it's going to be out everywhere this week, but it's going to be out this week. I'm going to be checking my local Toys R Us starting probably Thursday and just kind of repeating until I finally find it. Once again, it's going to depend on your area. If you already have it pre-ordered, you probably already got it. Now, there's already reviews popping up, so some people already have the figure. I don't know if it's because they pre-ordered it. I don't know if it's because they traded up and they finally got something from Randy because Randy's awesome like that. Not really sure, but they are showing up everywhere. As far as the Sarah Connor figure, you can check out my review. You can check out them on Out of the Box review. I'm pretty sure Pixel Dan already has one. So you can see the reviews pretty much anywhere. Last thing I want to focus on with NECA shipping is the Bat Gremlin. It was originally supposed to be out in January. There was pre-orders up on Toys R Us's website. There was pre-orders up on Big Bad Toy Store, Toy Wiz. The ones on Toys R Us went down. Not sure why. I kind of tweeted out to NECA. I didn't really get an answer on that, but they get like thousands of tweets a day, so that's understandable. However, you can still get it on Big Bad Toy Store. You can still get it on Toy Wiz. And their shipping calendar has it for, I believe, the second week of February, maybe the third week. So it's shipping out next month. So cross your fingers, keep on it. I mean, I have to have one to go with my Spider Gremlin, which you can't see at this angle, but right there he is. See that? So, once again, if you have a pre-order in, just wait for it. If you don't have it in yet, go place the pre-order. These ones are going to sell out very quickly. Whenever I got my Spider Gremlin one, they actually sold really slow. There wasn't as many people that were following NECA on Twitter. Things have exploded since 2015, and it's only going to get crazier. Moving on from NECA, Diamond Select Toys is finally releasing the Ghostbuster figures this month with the diorama pieces. Now, they did release them in early December. I got a couple sitting behind me right here, but they didn't have the diorama pieces on them. They were only $15 though, so can't really complain. The new ones are $24.99, but they come with the diorama pieces, and you can actually make the rooftop scene, which is pretty awesome. Now, if you don't have them yet, you're kind of in the dilemma that I'm in where you already got them and they don't have the diorama pieces. So do you rebuy them and give the other ones away? Do you keep the original ones and make your own diorama? I'm going to go with the latter. Not that I'm going to make the rooftop scene. I kind of want to make the firehouse because I think it'd be really awesome to have like my own little firehouse for them, and because I'd like to get an awesome Ecto 1. Now, the thing about that is I kind of contacted Diamond Select Toys because when I picked up the Ghostbuster figures, I had a little bit of a breakage. We'll talk about that in a minute. But I got to talking with one of their representatives, and one of the things that came up was the Ecto 1. Now, Mattel had previously promised us they were going to come out with a 1/12 scale, which would have been great, especially for 6 or 7 inch figures. Even if the 7 inch figures can't fit in it, it still looks scale to them when they're standing beside of it. So that's not going to happen anymore. However, Diamond Select Toys does plan on putting out a 1/15 scale Ecto 1, which I'm hoping will still look the part, because it's, better than the 1/18 scales when it comes to size. Now, I don't know when the release is for the January figures, but it's going to be a select series. They're going to have better packaging. They're not just going to have a flat cardboard piece on the back of them, which I think would be kind of cool. And then they also have pre-orders up now on Big Bad Toy Store and a couple other places for Venkman, for Spangler, for Dana, which is really, really awesome. One of the things people have been talking about with the Ghostbuster figures is the fact that with the Ray Stantz and the Winston Zedmore, they look spot on. They're very, very close in likeness. And then you get the Louis Tully, you look at the Dana Barrett, they're not really that good. And from what I hear, what I gather online, is they didn't get the likeness for them. They could do the character likeness from the movie, but they couldn't necessarily do Rick Moranis or Sigourney Weaver, which is kind of crazy because if you've seen the NECA figure of Ripley, you can do Sigourney Weaver. I just don't know if they signed on for the licenses. So obviously, don't compare the two or you're going to be really disappointed with how Dana looks. Now, with the Bill Murray one, I don't know if they got his likeness. I mean, it kind of looks like Bill Murray, and the Spangler one doesn't look like Spangler at all. It doesn't look like Harold Ramis. It just kind of looks like, obviously, he passed away. Can't really get his likeness, so do what you can, I guess. But the Bill Murray one looks more like the character of Venkman from the movie than it does like Bill Murray, especially, of course, when you compare it to how spot on the Dan Aykroyd one looks. I mean, it's spot on. Now we're going to pump the brakes. That's where we focus on a little bit of the breakage that you're going to find in some of the new figures that were released. Now, I'll kind of start with NECA because there's not really anything to focus on. As far as the new Ultimate Sarah Connor that they have that I grabbed up, the head is easily interchangeable. Maybe a little hot water kind of loosens it up. If you watch my review on the Sarah Connor figure, I focus on the ponytail on the back of her head. It's obviously, softer. When you're moving her head back and forth, that ponytail is like hitting her shoulders on each side. So if you obviously have it at an extreme angle and it bends it and it stays there, you're going to get a kink in it. It could possibly snap. So, one of the things I keep telling people is definitely kind of be careful with it. And that's no fault to NECA at all. I mean, the head sculpt's fantastic. It's very well placed. It's just whenever you heat it up, obviously it gets a little bit softer. And if you're very, I don't know what I would say, off the cuff with your figures, you're very brutal with them, you move them around, you're not gentle enough, you could snap it off, and it's not going to be NECA's fault. It's going to be your own. Now, let's move on to the Diamond Select Toys Ghostbuster figure, because the breakage there is not going to be your fault. Those figures come with like 47 interchangeable hands. Not really, it's like 8. But whenever you try to interchange them, they break really easy, and you don't even really notice it. Whenever you start turning the hand, it starts loosening up, and you're like, oh yeah, I got it. And then all of a sudden, you just take their hand off, and they're like Luke Skywalker. They just, no hand. And it's not your fault. And then you go, oh shit, it broke. I have all these other hands. Let me just grab one of these other hands, and I'll plug it in there. And then you go to do it, and you realize, oh, awesome, I snapped the peg off in the hole. Great. And then when you write Diamond Select Toys about it, their response is like, whoopsie, use some warm water. And obviously, if you broke the peg off in the hole, warm water doesn't really help. So a little quick fix I want to use real quick for you. If you have an X-Acto knife, if you don't, go get an X-Acto knife. They're awesome to use for it. Because what I did is I took my knife and I poked it around into the hole to kind of loosen it up. And also, the little peg that had broken off inside of there, the X-Acto knife, I used it to chop the peg up into tiny little baby pieces and then dug them out with a paper clip. And then after I finally got the piece out, and it took like 30 minutes, you're going to get frustrated. Don't let it stop you. Just keep going with it. You'll get it out. But after I finally did it and I got it out, I took the X-Acto knife and I widened the hole a little bit So now the hands interchange, not too much. I cannot stress that enough. If you do it too much, the hands are going to fall right out and you can't do anything about it. However, the only reason I did that was because the hands had already snapped off. So just like with the Sarah Connor figure, with the Ghostbuster figures, hot water is your best friend. If you just, I mean, that's what they suggest you do, which obviously, like, whenever customer service is like, well, you should just use hot water. And it kind of makes you feel like, hey, call me an idiot, because that's kind of what it comes out as. Like, well, did you put it in hot water? No. Of course you broke your figure. Whereas, like, with NECA's customer service, you're like, ah, shit, my figure broke. And NECA's like, here's like 4 more of them. They're not going to give you 4, but they will replace it, and it'll be very quick, and they don't really blame you for their figures breaking. So, obviously, like, that's awesome customer service. Hot water trick, absolutely what you need. By the way, if you want to get a hold of NECA's customer service, go to Twitter. They respond faster on Twitter than on their website, and it's just, I believe, at NECA_CS, and I'll put their little thing up there. But they're awesome with their customer service. They respond quickly. I got a replacement Superman figure. If I had multiple angles, you would see I actually have 2 Superman figures, because they sent me one, and then I glued the legs together on the one that broke, and I just keep him standing just as is so that he doesn't fall over. So it's kind of cool, because I have one figure that I can play with and move around, and then I have another figure that's just kind of like standing there, but they all look cool, so who cares? Now, everybody already knows about the breakage with the DC figures, the Superman breakage, the Batman Adam West breakage. I saw a little bit with Heath Ledger, but there wasn't really a lot of breakage with him. Good news about all of that, it's all been replaced, and all will be replaced. Like I said before, if you just go to NECA CS on Twitter or go to their website and let them know, take a picture. Don't try to scam them. Come on, dude. Like, I know some people online that were talking about that like tried to scam over the toy company. What's wrong with you? These are the guys that make your toys. These are the guys that put the heart and the love into these collectibles, and then you go ahead and you just screw them over? Nah, not cool, man. It's kind of like whenever you go and you will pay a flipper online, you know, $50, $60, $70 for a figure, when you could have got it at the release for like $20, $25. And if you do that, you're giving the money to the company that in return is going to make these figures for you, and they're going to put more love. They're going to be able to hire better talent for you. So, you know, you wait, and then you give your money to flippers instead of them, and then these flippers who don't care about you, they don't care about your wallet, they just come and they, you know, take your money, and they don't use it for anything good. So why not give it to the company that you love and adore so much, as in, you know, NECA. As far as the Diamond Select Toys Ghostbuster figures go with the breakage, they'll send you replacement hands if they've got them, or they, you know, they told me they would. I haven't got them yet. But they've said they would send them. But as far as replacement figures, no go. They didn't offer. I didn't really ask, because the figure itself was, you know, it's in good shape. It was just the hands that kind of, you know, broke. And they're going to be releasing all these other ones in January, so if push came to shove, I could just rebuy them with the Dio pieces, the Dio pieces. Someone's calling my phone. The last thing on breakage I want to talk about isn't really breakage. It's the new Ultimate Jason Lives figure from NECA. Some of them have really loose legs. And it's like right here, the legs, it's in the hip joint. And it kind of just, they're really loose. You can see some of that stuff on Twitter. As of right now, NECA CS has said that when they do get more in, they will replenish. Until then, they can still stand. They're still displayable. It's just, I mean, it's really wobbly, and he comes with that awesome, like, big spear that he has to kind of move with. So, like, it's a little hard to pose him with that, because it's awkward when you have, like, a loose hip, like Elvis kind of thing going on, you know. Stay tuned, subscribe. Obviously, I just started this. I'm going to keep going with it. Want to kind of keep the ball rolling. I want to hear back from you, obviously, because as of right now, I'm just doing this for the experience, and I'm going to talk about things I want to talk about. But obviously, like, if there's stuff that you want to talk about, let's talk about it, man. So you can find me on Twitter at Culture the Kid, Instagram, Facebook, also at Culture the Kid. So just, you know, look that up. Remember, kid with 2 Ds. If you have any questions, requests, or anything like that, leave them in the comment section below. Other than that, that's a wrap on Collectibles. I'll be back with film later on this week. Have a good one.